we arrive in time to start on time. So I'm going to just crack on. Just to give you a little bit of a background on how this works. I will be going through I have 7 steps each week that I go through. I'll go through them, and then at the end we will have a Q&A session. And I would love for you to give me your questions at the end, or if you pop them in the chat, that would be great. And let's get underway. Like I say, I like to make sure that I'm respectful of people's time, so starting on time. So here we go. So step 1, when we're considering what the real responsibilities are of being an author, which is what today is all about, we're looking at what is the purpose of a book. And with the results that we got on LinkedIn, I was a bit surprised because the one thing that I thought would probably get the most votes, i.e. serving the audience, got 0% of votes. But without our audience, we don't even have a career. Without our readers, we don't sell anything. It was just like, gosh, the whole point of us writing is to be of service to an audience. And I'd like everybody to consider all the types of books that are out there. Like we're learning from textbooks, we're learning from books on we're learning about history, we're learning about ourselves, we're learning about the world around us, we're learning how to cook, and all of these things that we write about. And like I said, even those steamy erotica books that, this might get us a bit hot under the collar, or, spice up our love lives. And so serving our audience is absolutely, for me, the number one thing that we should be doing. And obviously, the other options that are in there, like we've got like staying true to the facts, obviously. No one wants to read a book made up of lots of lies. And inspiring change within people, whether that's inspiring change in their knowledge or their understanding of the world, or for themselves, or of business. These are all important, but without our audience, why are we even doing it? I was really baffled by that, the poll results this week. And I don't know about yourselves, but if there's something else that you would like to add about what you feel is the most important thing, because it's the impact that we're having in the world. And if we're just thinking about our own credibility, I mean, building our own credibility got more votes than serving our audience, which tells us a lot about how people see being an author these days. I know I'm pretty old school. I'm a reader first, then I'm a writer, and then I'm an author. But I'm a book nerd. I love books, and my whole life, it's just been, so it's a bit crazy. But yeah, so again, think about all the books that are out there and the impact that they've had on you, and those people in your life that whether they're your students, whether you're your children, yourselves, your parents. Maybe there are some people out there that have never been taught to read. Some people don't have access to reading, so some of the books out there are actually helping people learn to read a new language. I know I read books in different languages, and I love learning the different languages I speak through the use of books. I'm not very quick. I'm getting there, but let's think about all the types of books that are out there, and the impact we can have, because it is about serving our audience. The next thing that I want us to actually think about, the real responsibilities of being an author. We actually need to build a business behind it. And doesn't matter whether we've already got our own business. It doesn't matter whether we've been in business for decades, or we've got multi-million-dollar businesses, or whether we are somebody who has been a cottage industry chef, cafe owner, wants to expand the revenue to actually produce the recipes that are made within our cafes, or moments from the cafe lives over the years. But how are we going to make sure that our book and our content lasts for generations? Are we making evergreen? There are so many books that I went through when I went off traveling around the world 7 years ago. And I came back and I looked at them, and they're business books that were so outdated. The systems didn't work anymore. The content was it was null and void. And a lot of them are business books that go out of date, or medicine books, but are they something that could be used in medical history? Are we donating them to libraries? Are we donating them to universities? And how are we repositioning books that are out of date? So one of the things I always say to a lot of my clients is that I say it to all of my clients, we need to make the books evergreen. We need to be looking at how we can make our content and our knowledge and our expertise as timeless as possible. And we need to be able to reach as many people as possible, which brings me back to the first thing about, serving the audience. Where is this audience based? So, for example, with Beth in her book, Raising Grit, I actually said to her, how are we making your knowledge and expertise as a family therapist relevant to not just those because Beth is, she's of Italian heritage. This has lived in the States. She has been married all of her adult life. They have one son together. And I was like, but how does your knowledge translate to families of different cultures, blended families, or used to be known as broken families? How is your book serving them? You're looking at it from a very middle class background, but what about people that are on the poverty line? What about people who are really struggling? Families that live apart, maybe military families. So having a look at that and how we can actually take what we've learnt and make it as valuable as possible, and give it as much of a shelf life for generations to come. And how are we utilizing our expertise in other areas to actually build a business around it? Because for us to reach as many generations and as many different audiences as possible, we actually have to understand the vehicle of business. We have to understand those sales and marketing channels. We need to understand the legalities of what it is that we're doing, and whether that includes making sure that there are disclaimers in there, because what we write in our book might be true. If we're using facts and figures within our books, are we putting a timestamp on it in the year 2022 or 24? These were the facts at the time. So what we're doing then, even though we're citing today's facts and figures, if we put in the year such and such and such, these were figures correct at the time, and putting footnotes there. So we can just still include today's facts and figures, but it's just the way in which we word them, word those references or the footnotes that we're doing, or whether you put end notes rather than footnotes. So look at how you're making your knowledge and your expertise as timeless as possible, because when you're looking at these facts and figures, if you are not actually referencing and putting citations it might seem obvious to actually do this because we don't want to be stealing anybody else's intellectual property, or giving wrong reference points. But what we can then do is actually have our books as references for learning material, and people say in 10, 20 years can actually go, okay, I need information on this at a certain point. And because we're referencing it and we're putting it in the title checklists, we can actually make sure that our book is pulled out in, say, 10, 20 years time for referencing. So that's another way in which we can make our books as evergreen as possible. The other thing that I find is a real responsibility of authors, and again, like I said, if there's anything that's coming up for you, please do pop your comments or your questions in the chat, and I will get to them at the end, or if I can answer them as we're going through, then I will do that. Step 3 is, if you gift an organization 100 copies of your book, who would that be and why? So, for example, are you writing a children's book that you want to donate to a school, say, overseas? Are you donating, if you've written a book, say, on your faith, are you donating it to people who are, say, I know this probably sounds quite, just stereotypical, but people that are near end of life that probably might want to get their faith in check or actually have questions. They might need that solace. So actually donating your books to a hospice. Have you written children's books or adventure books, or adult fantasies that you can give to a hospital? Again, how are we paying it forward? How are we being generous and taking responsibility for something that we've created? Because if we're looking at it from a sales and PR background, or angle, what we're actually doing is we could be seen as very selfish because we're only doing it to actually create publicity. But when you think about gifting your book to somebody, think about the joy that you're giving them. Think about that time escaping their situation at that moment in time. Think about the healing that could go on. And it doesn't matter whether it's a business book, you're still healing the business. You're still generating knowledge and action plans for somebody to actually implement in their business, which then actually helps them generate more revenue, which can probably help, with medical bills. It could help with creating legacies or putting food on the table for other people. So again, how are we impacting our audience in the ways in which, now these, to some people, these might seem obvious ideas, and I know to some people, I run these seminars, and some of these things I say to clients or in the workshops that I do when I go real life. And sometimes I'm quite surprised that people haven't actually thought of some of these things. And I know it's because I've got 21 books to my name. I've been doing this for a long time. I've been in publishing for nearly 30 years. It doesn't seem that long, but again, it's like we take our knowledge for granted. We assume that people will know things that we find are quite simple, and it's about bringing that back. What is that social impact? If we were to bring it right back to the guts of why we're writing, again, to serve an audience, not for our own credibility, to serve our readers, then what impact are we having? Are we writing a book? So for example, I've got a book coming out called Owning Our Ovaries. It's just an anthology of women celebrating women and their greatness. We're highlighting 6 powerful women. One of them has had endometriosis and she's had to have hysterectomy. One of them is talking about art therapy, how that helped her overcome her family breakdown. There are women in there that have overcome systemic abuse and police corruption and incarceration. We've got another lady in there who had religious abuse in her education when she was growing up and when she was placed in a convent. And, the choices that she made. And then we've got another lady who was talking about what it was like growing up in an abusive household and how their story is impacting and what did they do to overcome those. Plus, we've got a long list of ladies that are, that have laid the foundation for us. So where could this book go? Are we giving away the royalties as a group of women who have got together? We can't tell whose marketing efforts have brought in the online sales. The only thing we know is our efforts are getting the author sales directly from us. So where are we donating all of the online royalties? Are we donating it to a women's refuge? Are we donating it to endometriosis? Where can you gift your royalties to? Is it something that you're going to gift 10% of your royalties to a charity or to an organization that are supporting the cause that you're writing about, or your cause something you're really passionate about? Or is your book about something that you have hidden, you have kept quiet about for so long, and now is the time for you to actually say, you know what, I'm going to step out from behind the brand, I'm going to step out from my job title, and I'm going to put my brave on, and I'm going to write a book about this because this is really important to me. How are you gifting your book to others? In step 4, the thing that we're going to be looking at is, how is your book going to change the law or create awareness of a social issue? So for example, like I said, that, the anthology, you've got Beth writing her Raising Grit book. I've written and published books on police corruption. There are other books on women who attempted suicide, and their stories and how they overcame it. We've written a book on men's mental health and on menopause. What social issues are you writing about that are going to be helping others learn more about a situation? They may not be experiencing it themselves, but if you're writing about something, and then you're going into a university to talk about your book, and you're talking about it to, say, like you're talking about employment law, these issues are impacting women. Let's take menopause, for example. And you're going into the corporate world, could you then go into a law faculty at a university and actually talk about this, about corporate law, women's rights? How are you changing the minds of the students in there that could actually escalate your career? Because one of the things that we've got, the biggest answer we had in our poll was that 64% of people thought that the real responsibility of an author was inspiring change. But if you've written a book, so for example, one of the books by Gillian McAllister, I'm looking over here because the book is on the bookshelf, Wrong Place, Wrong Time. It was about her son being in the wrong place at the wrong time. And I read the blurb this morning. I thought, oh, I'm going to read that. That's talking about a social issue of her son being accused of murder. And as a mother of Arabic children, I know what that is like. Okay, would they be in the wrong place at the wrong time and get questioned? Or, for example, friends of mine, they are from an African background, and so their sons are, they're very black, and so if they're in a very white area, are they going to be the one that's identified or chosen to take the fall? Or if it's a single white person in an area, again, looking at social issues that you can help change and raise awareness of. I know they're very generic, they're very obvious solutions at the moment in the world that we're living in, but again, are we looking at, we know something about history, we know that the facts are not correct. So for example, a lot of people believe that Rosa Parks was the very first woman to sit on the bus in the white people section, but she wasn't. I cannot remember the name of the lady who went before, but I think it was about 5 months before that. There was a young lady who went before Rosa Parks, but Rosa Parks got the accreditation. And again, this is one of the things that we need to look at when we're doing citations in our books. Are we referencing the right people? And I know that Brené Brown has allowed people to credit her with certain quotes, but they're not her quotes. And instead of her actually having a team of people that are helping to correct that, association of a quote by her to the correct person. And that's why it's so important to make sure that we make sure that the facts and the figures and the quotations and the citations in our books are actually accurate. One of the books that I've just worked on, War of Fear, is actually putting the historical journey of Genghis Khan back in who was the person behind him, who saved his life. And so we're rewriting certain historical elements of that story to put historical fact where it should be. And again, like I said, is your book an income generator for different charities around the world? For example, the menopause book, all the online sales of that book, they go to women's menstruation projects in Latin America, in some of the refugee centers out there, so that we can actually support women and young girls to have their hygiene products. They make them, and it's generating an income for the women out there. But it also means that these women are not filling up landfills, but they've also got they've got protection at every time of the. I've got a couple. I've just noticed that we've got a couple of. Thank you, Kim. Yes, it was it was a young woman who was pregnant. She couldn't get back to the end of the bus, so thank you for that. So again, it's about looking at how can we use what we're doing to serve our audience. And our readers, they are the most important people, because without them, we don't have any income. We're not writing. So, I mean, I've worked with a woman before. Her book is never going to be selling massive amounts, because she wrote that because she wanted to invest a large amount of money, the largest amount of money that she's ever invested in herself. Now, that to one woman, a few £1,000s might be the largest amount of money she's ever invested in herself. To another woman, it might be a few £100s, because we are known as ladies of not investing in ourselves. We invest in our families, we invest in the house, we invest in everything but ourselves. So her book was about her investing in herself, knowing that she was worthy, and writing her imposter syndrome out. So her book is not going to go on to sell lots of copies. It was mainly for her own personal development. So how are we creating that change? And by her writing that book, she has gone on to inspire her daughters, who then got also daughters. So the ripple effect within her family has created that change. Which brings me on to step 5, and whether we're going to be creating a residual income for our children or a school in a remote part of the world. There are certain projects that I know. I don't publish children's books. Excuse me, I need a sip of tea. But I do know that one of my colleagues in the industry, all of the books that they publish, excuse me, they donate 10% of the books that are sold. They then donate those to schools in different parts of the world, so that the children there have got literacy aids. There are certain book publishers that will donate 10% of all book sales to healthcare programs within schools. Whether we agree with healthcare system programs being put into schools is a different matter. The thing is, we're doing something to pass on the greatness and a share of the wealth. It might be, like I said, that you are extending your career. You might be coming up to retirement. You might be going, okay, where does my life go from here on in? What, I've learned all of these things, I've experienced all of this. What is beyond my retirement? I can't ever see myself retiring. What am I going to do? So it might be that you want to share your experiences and actually go on to inspire others, maybe become a guest lecturer. Maybe you want to set up a community fund, or you've got a community project that you want to work on. So you're going to write a book about your career. You're going to use that income to actually fund your community project. What is it that you are going to be doing once you retire? These are some of the things that we could be looking at. And again, it's not just about ourselves. It's about saying, okay, well, we are the people that others can stand on the shoulders of. Like, we are standing on the shoulders of so many other women and other people from our past. So again, it's looking at how our legacy is our truest responsibility as an author. It's not about our ego. It's not about our job title. It's not about the money that we're making. It is because when we're looking at the art of literature, even if, like, I know that some people go, well, how could romantic comedy books or, love stories? Well, it might inspire somebody to actually seek love and actually keep believing in love after a divorce or rejection, or it might inspire a different way of looking at certain things. It could actually give somebody that break from a really heavy, stressful job. We don't know what we don't know the impact that we're having on others. So, for example, Amanda Denham, who published with me, her book Sin Eater was all about teen health, teen mental health, and the dynamics of teenagers and the manipulation by parents, and how her character Jade used art therapy to heal herself and actually come out the other side of her own mental health issues. So again, it's about looking at how we're using what we're doing to impact others, because the real responsibility of being an author is to serve the audience. Again, step 6 is looking at the world of corruption. Like, how many of us are wearing masks? How many of us are pushing down who we are and hiding who we are just to fit in, or to maintain a job or a career? Why is it that these corporate firms are not allowing their employees to be who they are? They talk about corporate social responsibility. They talk about building a culture of honesty and transparency and all the latest buzzwords. But are they actually doing that when they're actually stifling the voices of their employees? Are they allowing their employees to actually have an opinion? Are they allowing them to have a difference of opinion? Or are we actually silencing our employees to the point that they cannot be themselves, and then their mental health suffers? Again, we've got to look at these HR policies that are going on within our organization. Can we as HR professionals, not that I am a HR professional, but can we as HR professionals write about these and actually create a new culture within the organization that we work for? Are we nurses or doctors within the NHS here in Britain or in the American healthcare system, or wherever it is in the world, and actually talk about medical negligence, because doctors and nurses are overworked. They are under a huge amount of pressure. A lot of them are not sleeping well. And is that leading to accidents in, say, surgery or wrong diagnoses? How are we looking at what we're writing about within our industry and our chosen subjects? How are we making the world a better place through what we're writing about? Because again, for me, and a lot of people that I speak to, we're all going through this huge awakening that it's no longer it's no longer important just to make money. We are not, our humanity is suffering because people are, they've got to a point where they've got the job titles, they've got the finances, but there's something missing. We're seeing a huge amount of people suffering from mental health issues, and it's something that needs to be addressed. Um, um, I'm going to get to your questions in a bit, Kim. Thank you so much for sending those through. I really do appreciate you. Step number 7. Again, building on everything that I've just said there about how the real responsibilities of being an author, it's about creating this this business model for you to be able to serve more and more people, being able to generate those that impact, those social projects. If there were no limitations at all in your life, whether it's the approval of an employer, whether it's a stepping out from the fear of what your family and friends would do, or if there was no monetary limitations, no creative limitations, what would you do with that? How would writing a book help you achieve your goal? Like I said, your book may be something that allows you to not only raise awareness, but also generate income. We all know that there's a lot of people that are becoming authors, and I do believe that not everybody should become an author. Some people's skill is not in writing, it's in dance, it's in music, it's in film, it's in photography, it's in clothing. How can you express what it is that you're doing through the different art mediums? So for example, if you are somebody who loves photography, can you raise awareness of something by taking your photography and publishing it in a coffee table book and selling that? Could you look at, selling your film on, on these, we see them on big screens, and we see books that are adapted into films. Is there a way in which, you can make a film and actually have the script writer and do the reverse engineering process? There are so many ways in which we can break the norms It's not about us following a particular set of rules that somebody else has come up with. This is about us and achieving a goal or testing the different aspects of the creative model. If writing a book is your modality, then how are you going to achieve a social project and social impact around the world? And what are you going to need to actually make that happen? Because at the end of the day, nobody really cares about the author. They only care about what is it that the book is doing for them. In sales, many years ago, I was taught the that we call it WFM, what's in it for me. That's all somebody cares about when they're buying something. What is it I'm getting from this? Am I buying a jumper and it's soft and cozy and comfortable in my favorite color? Am I buying a car because it's got heated seats and a heated steering wheel? I just need a car to get me from A to B. I don't care about all the other luxuries. What is in it for you? Sorry, what is in it for me is what our readers are wanting. They're not interested in who we are as an author. Excuse me. Goodness gracious, need more tea, obviously. So again, what is it that we are wanting to do, and what is it that we're looking to achieve with our books moving forward? Now, I know that I've gone through those quite quickly, and I know that Kim has got some questions that she'd like to mention. So I'm going to stop sharing. Those of you who have arrived today, you will receive these slides in an email. I'm going to answer the questions now. More musings, obviously, observations and questions. Yeah, a lot of people do have a lot of musings. We had a session last week, and one of the ladies said that this was gold, made her think about a lot of things that she hadn't considered before. Yeah, there are many rollbacks happening across the world in many industries. People are actually looking at how they've been doing something, and I know that with a lot of the things that I write about, I talk about, it does have a social issue, social impact to it, because we are all connected. We are all one. What I do today, what books I write and publish today, will have an impact on my children. I have two sons, and before I publish a book, I always ask them, "Are you happy with me doing this?" If we're looking at how that book is landing with somebody, when I put chapters together of an anthology, it's like, how is this impacting the reader? If I put this chapter next to this chapter, is that going to be too much for my reader? If I'm putting these two, so for example, we had a book, Alive to Thrive, the life after attempting suicide. We had a wide range of ladies in there, and one of the things that I have to be very careful about as a publisher is, where am I positioning not just the stories for their impact on the reader's nervous system, but also if I'm putting all of the different ethnicities, like how am I balancing those out between the books? I can't, and we have to be so careful these days with how people respond to things. I'm not putting all of the white people at the front, and then the Latinos, and then the Asians, and then the people from the Caribbean or from Africa or from the Arab world at the back. Again, it's like, how are we balancing all of this? Making sure that everything is even. And there's a lot that goes into publishing a book. There's a lot that needs to be done on the business side of things, because as an author, when you're talking about your book or you're writing your book, have you got your insurances in place? Your public liability? Have you got your legal cover? A lot of authors, especially in the States, because we've had a lot of plagiarism that's been happening, especially nowadays with AI. People are writing these books and putting them out there, but they're not covering themselves with insurance. And now they haven't covered themselves with insurance. And now those that have, some of the insurance companies are refusing to insure them. I know that there have been a number of authors come to me and go, "I can't get insured, Dawn. Where are you insured?" I'm like, "Well, I'm in Britain." Go to, if you've got a an author society in your country. Think about your liability insurance. I know that the Society of Authors here in Britain, we get £10 million worth of public liability insurance as part of our membership if we upgrade to the higher level. You might want to go through the Publishers Guild. You might want to go through, look through Authors Guild or Writers Association, see what they've got available for you, because whatever you're putting out there, you need to be able to protect yourself and actually be able to back up everything that you're saying. And there are a lot of authors that are using I call it Chat G&T, Chat GBT. I don't drink gin, which is quite ironic, really, being I call it Chat G&T. But there are people that are using that, and they're not checking the information that's coming through. And it's like, how can you call yourself an industry leader or somebody who is reliable or trustworthy if you're not checking your research? Now, I'm the kind of person, I traveled around the world and went to the places I'm writing about to go and find the information in those places. I didn't just rely on books or just rely on ChatGPT and actually, or the internet. I went to the places, I interviewed the people on the ground. I read the books and visited the museums in those countries, just so that I had a real 360-degree view as possible to be able to write what I'm writing about. I had to go and observe these cultures with my own eyes, had to go and eat the food and dance with the people and just live their lives and, live with the locals, never living in a tourist area. It was always with the locals. And this is, and how are we making sure our research is valid? Because if, for example, there are errors within our books, how are we correcting them? How are we making sure that what we're putting out there, we're not going to get penalized or arrested or incarcerated for, leaving our children without a parent? And these are the real responsibilities of an author that a lot of people don't consider. They don't consider the contractual legal side of things. They don't consider, the copyright and copyright infringements and the plagiarisms and making sure footnotes, etc., are accurate. So there's a lot there, I know, that I've given you today. And I hope that that was useful. And that if you've got any questions, those of you who are watching this on the replay, those of you that will see this on YouTube, if you've got any questions, please do drop them in, and my team and I will make sure that we answer them as thoroughly as we possibly can. And if you would like to join me for another one, make sure that you do sign up using the link below. I do offer author strategy sessions. They are free of charge. So if you would like to book an author strategy session on how to get published, some things to think about, then please note you can go to, if you type in authors.youcanbook.me, that will be able to send you, and you'll be able to choose a calendar slot for that. If you would like to learn more about how I, as an author coach and publisher and researcher, can help you with your book, then do go to dawnbates.com/contact and send me an email through there. You will find a lot of resources on there. I have a Pick My Brains page where I answer a lot of the questions that I get asked. They're all on the website. My author courses are on there, and there is some information on how you can get published with me as well. And there's testimonials on there from people who've worked with me previously. And so, yeah, if you've got anything that you would like to share with me, please do send me a message either through LinkedIn or through the website, and I'll do my very best to get back to you as soon as I possibly can. If there is anything else that is, I think, you're very welcome, Kim. I like to pay back. I've been gifted a lot of information and mentoring in my I keep thinking it can't be 30 years. It really can't. But no, it is. It's nearly 30 years. If I can help in any way, please do let me know. And like I said, if you would like to do an author strategy session for free with me, then it's authors.youcanbook.me. And the link to all of these will be in the comments below on YouTube. And wherever else they get posted.